Yo, I hope y'all doing well. I see I'm bundled up. It's hella chilly out today. The sun was out, but it still was cold as hell down here. So yeah, I hope y'all having a good day though. Today I wanted to talk about a verse that I read. It was in John 6:9. And you don't gotta be religious. I wouldn't call myself religious. I just pull whatever wisdom I can from wherever. I try to learn from everything and not just one thing or one place. But this story I read, I was like, whoa, it's kind of crazy. So in John 6:9, it talk about how this boy had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, but fed 15,000 people with that, right? Now, our mind is like, oh, ain't no way, whoop-de-whoop fed that many people with that amount of food, right? And to me, when I looked at that story, I thought about the food as an idea, right? Because when you talk about the story, you like, that's a little bit amount of food, right? To like feed that many people. So I want to translate this how I see ideas, right? Sometimes we may get these ideas that we believe are small, right? But really, they're these big, grand ideas that can really have a huge impact on the world, right? So just like you may not think that, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish can feed 15,000 people, you may look at your ideas like, oh, that's just a small idea, or this idea, right? And I want you to be able to change the way you look at your ideas, because any idea that you have can be a great idea depending on how you look at it, no matter how small or whatever, right? When we think about ideas are simply a thought, right? It seems so small, like the thought, okay, that's something that's just so small, because how many thoughts do we have a day? But the idea that you have on whatever it is you building, whatever it is that you want to do, like you have this inkling inside of you, like, ooh, this idea, I want to create it. You never know how big of an impact that idea can have or how many people it can feed, right? And just start thinking about everything like that we just kind of take for granted or we look past. Before planes were built, it was an idea. Before cars were built, it was an idea. Before microphones were built or phones were built, it was an idea, right? It was these things that may have been looked at as small, right? But then in the end, they're everywhere. They have such a big impact, Everybody fly like on planes nowadays. And I'm not saying, I don't want to say everybody, because some people may not have the means, but you get what I'm saying. Planes are so frequently accepted now. We don't look at it as a big deal. But back then, before there was planes, it was just a small idea that many people probably thought was crazy. Like, oh, what this idea you got is crazy. Ain't no way. But then look at the world now. We got a bunch of, podcasts and stuff that take microphones to use. Everybody and their mama got a phone, bruh. I be seeing little ass kids with an iPhone 17. I'm like, damn, little nigga. And then can't even speak properly. What do you need an iPhone for? But I say all that just to say, don't look at your ideas as something small. If you have an idea or inkling and you had that feeling inside, go after that idea, because you never know how your idea can impact the world at such a large scale. Don't ever overlook any idea, right? Somebody's idea was to make a chair. At first, somebody probably thought, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. But we sit on them. We eat dinner with them, right? We take a rest from standing. Like, these little ideas, really have these big impacts, man. So look at your ideas as something significant. Don't downplay the ideas that you have, because at one point, those ideas may be looked at as crazy or small or whatever, but years down the line, or however long down the line, it could really make an impact on the world. You see what iPhones is doing. You feel me? Before the iPhone, what phone was the biggest phone? You feel me? iPhones are taking over. And yeah, shout out to like everybody else, you know, the Androids, etc. Everybody got different type of phones or whatever, but we know in terms of the phone game, iPhone running shit, bro. Like, and at first that was just a small idea. I'm pretty sure Mac didn't even start off as phones. I think they started off as computers and then they started branching out to phones, right? But that was just a small idea. People was like, what, you gonna make a smartphone that got no buttons on it? It's just a screen and blah, blah, blah. But look at the impact it got on the world now. So I just want to remind you that your ideas aren't small, no matter how small you think they are. Cherish and hold significance with the ideas that you have, because you never know the impact that they can have on a grand scale. Even if it's a small scale, still impacting one person is a good thing, you know? So yeah, man, I just wanted to relate that story about, you know, the story in the Bible, John 6:9, about how this dude fed 15,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Those ideas, they may seem small now, or people may call you crazy or whatever, but those ideas can really have a big impact in the world and really change the world forever. So don't ever downplay your ideas. Always lift them up and protect those ideas, you know? When you have these ideas, I wouldn't necessarily run around and, you know, be talking about these ideas, you know? I would have the idea and I would start acting on them. And once you've built what you've built, then you can let people know about the ideas you have or whatever. But I would keep my ideas to myself until what I'm built is done being built, or what I'm building is done being built, or I would share those ideas with only the people I know will see them kind of like how I see them, or they can help contribute to building and executing that idea that I have. So yeah, man, never downplay your ideas. They are more important than you probably even think yourself. So yeah, man, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Trust your ideas, hold them close. Love. Till next time. Peace. Y'all have a good evening.